Hey guys, Zeramus555 here, and I'm coming to you guys with the, I think, long-awaited Dinomist card. It's really not long-awaited. It's been like, I don't know, a week since I announced that I was building this deck. Well, about a week ago, I just want to talk about this first. It's probably going to be about a 20-minute deck profile, but before I actually decided to build this deck, I was talking with my friend Eli, and he had told me this deck was trash. And I remember I kept playing against it on Dev Pro, and I was losing every once in a while. Because of the flotation and the negation aspect of the deck, and it was like, man, this deck's really good. And I don't know why Eli says it's so bad, but I was trying to figure out like a way to make it better because it doesn't really have like the aggressive plays that it should have. It takes quite a bit to set up, aside from the Dinomist engine. So I kind of was like, how am I going to make this deck a little more relevant? And I realized I was like, well, all the Dinomist monsters are either level 4 or 5. And the two best Karakuri tuners are level 3 and 4. And I just want to say, like, I did no research on this deck before I started testing it. If somebody else came up with this idea as well, congratulations, that's awesome. I'm happy for you because it's super good. But I actually did come up with this myself. I innovated this myself. It's really good. If you're looking for a super budget deck to play from the new set, even the extra deck's pretty affordable because all the Karakuri stuffs have been reprinted. Like, most of the extra deck cards I'm playing are cards that you can get now for pretty cheap because they've all been reprinted several times. This deck is so good. It's so cool because you can, like, you synchro with the Dinomist pendulum monsters and they all go to the extra deck. And then you can pendulum them back. The Karakuri engine also gives it a really nice advantage engine where you're plussing, because the deck doesn't really have a draw engine outside of itself. It just kind of has advantage via Pteran and Dinomist Charge, which are fantastic cards. The deck's just really fast. Like, it might take a turn to set up. You can open really good first turn hands, where you can actually open like double Burrito, draw into 2 cards and like set some back row, and you end up like your 5-card hand turns into like a 2 Pendulum Zones, 2 Burritos, a Nishipachi, and 3 back row field. Like, you can get hands like that actually quite consistently. Like, I'm getting turn 2 Karakuri fields really, really well. So anyways, yeah, this deck is super good. It's super fun. If you guys want to, I would love to do like combo videos for this deck because I think it's going to be very underrated. I think people don't really realize how good this deck is. I'll talk about the cards and why I pick the ratios as I go through it, but without further ado, I'm just going to get on the deck profile here. Oh, one sec here, guys. Dudley wants in. That's the cat. That there's the Duddles. Fierce lion. Oh, see, he likes to jump up and stare out the window because he's an inside cat. He doesn't ever go outside. So he'll probably jump up here, see if we can get him in the mix. Oh, there we go. Good jump. Good jump. So he's just going to hang out there while I do the profile. So anyway, so let's get things continued here. Okay, so without further ado, let's get through the deck profile here. So we got 1, 2, 3 Dinomist Rex. Sadly, this is the only holo in the deck, but it actually made me picking up the entire deck super easy. Since it is a super, I pretty much valued these at like $2 each, and people are willing to sell them for that. I pulled one and traded or sold the other, or bought the other 2 for like a toonie each. So this is without a doubt one of the best cards in the deck. It's probably the second best one, I would say, behind Pteran. All the Dinomist cards that do get battle effects, such as Pteran and Stegosaurus and Rex, they can all use their effects multiple times in the battle phase. It's not once per turn effect, so that's really insane. I'm just going to point this out right away before I kind of go anywhere, so people know what the deck does, is any of the 6 scales, while they're in the pendulum zone, if a card effect would target another Dinomist card, that's important, this part, you control, then destroy this card and you can negate it. So it's really good. You can stop like Twin Twisters, you can stop MSTs, you can stop like Compulsory, you can stop anything that's targeting any of your Dinomist cards. Destroy this or any of the 6 scales, and then you can essentially gain advantage, because if you have Charge up, it just goes back to your hand. You can play it in the Pendulum Zone again, so that's really good. And then the 3 scales, basically what they do is they stop destruction of Dinomist cards, but it has to be something, another Dinomist card. So that's the only issue, is the same with this. Like, if you target this guy with an MST or something, he can't negate his own effect from being destroyed, but I mean, he's going to go back to your hand anyways if you have Charge, and same with this. So they kind of protect each other, which is really good. But that's important to remember, because if you do have both scales set up, or the scale set up, you cannot actually negate it with, say, if they go to Wavering Eyes you, because Wavering Eyes is destroying this card as well. So that's really important to remember. But anyways, yeah, I'll talk about Rex for a second here. So basically what Rex does is if he attacks, so that's important to remember as well, is it's not if he is attacked, it's if he attacks. At the end of the damage step, you can tribute one other Dinomist monster, then activate one of the effects. The first one is he can make it a second attack in a row on another monster, and he does piercing damage. That's really good. But the other one that's really busted is you can shuffle one card from your opponent's hand at random or their side of the field in the deck, then he gains 100 attack. So why this is so good is, one, it doesn't target, two, it activates in the damage step, so they can't really stop it. So it's pretty crazy. And there's combos you can do, like if you have this guy up with another Dinomist and then you have a 3 scale in the pendulum zone, you can like crash the Rex into something, and if he actually leaves the board, you can still activate his effect. So in the damage step, he's not dead yet. You activate his effect, you tribute like the other Dinomist monster off the board, and then he will die, or you can destroy your other pendulum zone to keep him alive if you want. But if you don't, say he goes back to the extra deck, he will still resolve his effect off of the field, which is crazy. A lot of people don't know that. So you can get rid of like a lot of problem cards this deck would otherwise have a really hard time getting over. And I honestly think he's probably the best card in the deck next to Pteran, just because Pteran is really your advantage engine. But this is just like, you basically just use this to pick cards out of your opponent's hand. You can get rid of pendulum zones, you can get rid of set back rows, and they can't chain the back rows either, once again, because it's in the damage step. So it's just crazy. It's such a good card. So 2 Ceratops. He's basically just like a Cyber Dragon if you control another Dinomist monster, minimum 1. And that's the only thing you control, so you cannot special this, like, say, if you have a Dinomist and a Karakuri on the board, so you kind of have to, like, play your hand properly. But I was playing 3 this originally with 3 of the Brachion, but I realized that, like, these guys clog. They're probably the worst monsters in the deck, surprisingly. I thought they were the best next to Rex, but the more I tested, I realized they kind of, like, bricked your hands. And he's basically a Cyber Dragon if your opponent controls a monster. So originally I thought that was really good because I was like, hey, you can special this, you can special the Ceratops and normal Nishipachi and make a double Burrito play. And these go to the extra, or the Pendulum Zone, and then you can pendulum them back and then overlay for Cyber Dragon Infinity. And that play does come up from time to time, but the issue with this is that it does require your opponent to have a monster. So if you want a specialist guy, I don't like decks that rely on waiting for your opponent to do something. And that can be the one problem in this deck from time to time, and that's just because Dinomist Pteran, who I think is the best card in the deck, he's your searcher. He does require destroying a monster by battle. The good thing about this is that he combos really well with the next card I'm going to talk about. But he basically, whenever he destroys opponent's monster by battle, they attack it or he attacks it, you can add 1 Dinomist card from your deck to your hand. So you can add a monster, you can add a Dinomist Charge, which is generally what you're going to add, or you can add a Dinomist Rush, which is either a defensive or a very aggressive card, depending on how you want to play it. There are several ways to get to this card as well, because Dinomist Rush can special any Dinomist monster from the deck, and then it's unaffected by card effects, so that's really, really good. And of course, you can just search out with Dinomist Charge. And the other thing people might not realize when they first read this card is it's not once per turn. So if your opponent has multiple cards on the field, and you have multiple Pterans, you can attack and get 2 searches, or up to 3 if you had all 3. I've had 3 Pterans on the board at one time before, and it's just nuts. Like, you just gain so much advantage at that point that your opponent's basically not going to win. So this card's insane. It's so good, and it's even better with... I thought this was the worst card in the deck, and the more I tested, I realized, like, this is probably the 3rd best monster in the deck, is Plesios. This card's nuts. So what it does is all face-up monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack and defense for each Dinomist card you control. So that includes Pendulum Scales, that includes other monsters, and that includes your face-up Dinomist Charge. So that's crazy. Like, I've had 2 of these on the board at the same time with 2 Scales, 2 Dinomist Charge, and like 2 other monsters. And my opponent was like lost 1,400 attack and defense, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. So yeah, this card's super good. It makes it so your Pteran can run over stuff easier. It makes it so your whole deck can just run over stuff easier. And it's one of the reasons why I really don't think you need to play the field spell either. I think the field spell is like a side deck card, depending on what you're playing against. But this card is so good. Yeah, it's the other cool thing you can do is you can actually your opponent will, like, say, attack your Rex or attack your, even better, your Pteran, and he thinks he's going to kill it, say he's over it by like 300 or 400 or something, you can special allow to Plesios on attack declaration with a Dinomist Rush, and then through his attack, his monster will lose attack and defense because the Plesios is on the board. He can declare a replay at that point because a new monster has arrived on the board. But I mean, at that point, he's probably just going to stop attacking, which is fine anyways. So regardless, like there's really cool combos you can do with this card, and it's just so good. And then I'm playing 2 Stegosaur. I originally was playing more 5s, but I realized that the problem with the 5s was it required your opponent to have cards, and the 4s I thought sucked. I was originally playing 1 of this and I think 1 Stegosaur, and then I kept bumping them up and realizing like how good these were. Basically what this is a catastrophe. If another pendulum monster you control battles an opponent's monster, after damage calculation you can destroy those monsters. So that doesn't hurt you at all because first of all, you're going to probably just add the monster back to your hand, or you can be able to pendulum summon it again next turn. And I'll summon this guy in defense a lot, just because, like, you know, he gives you protects your other monsters, and he gives your opponent a hard time getting over stuff. So that's really relevant. So that's it for the Dinomists. One thing I do want to say as well. This whole deck is basically machines. So if you guys are worried about Cyber Dragon Affinities and you can't afford them, like I don't actually have one myself, you can just go, if they have a Cyber Dragon Affinity, you can just go set Contact Fuse, and your monster will go to the extra deck to pendulum summon back later, and they lose their entire Cyber Dragon Affinity, and they cannot negate that. So something to keep in mind. So for the Karakuris, I'm running 2 Watchdog. I was originally just playing 1, and I tried 0, but I realized like 2 is better because I'm running more of the level 4s than I am of the 5s. And he's the one that you can actually pendulum summon, which is really important to remember because he's level 4 and he's between the 3 and 6 scale. You can pendulum 4s and 5s. That means I can special summon Saizan. He's actually quite relevant as well because I have had from time to time where you special him an attack and then you crash, and then all your Karakuris will gain 800 attack and defense. So you can make it so your Burritos are big enough to get over cards you're having a hard time with, which is really nice. So that's really important to remember. And then I am playing just 2 Nishipachi. I was playing 3 originally because I was playing more 5s, but this is probably the worst one out of the 2. The one thing I liked about this is it is basically an enemy controller. So if you have a Pteran on the board already, you can just like, or in your pendulums, or your extra deck and you pendulum it out, you can normal a Nishipachi, switch their monster to defense, and then run it over a Pteran, get a search, and then a synchro for, say, a, what's he called, the Bure, and then get a Watchdog from the deck, and then with the search off the Pteran, you can like grab a Dinomist Charge, search out another level 4, normal summon it, and then synchro for Burrito and start doing pluses. So that's crazy. Like that's really good by itself. That's a 1 card like +3, which is pretty nuts. Of course, as well, this guy's important because off of the double Burrito combo or even the single Burrito combo, you special summon this card. I was usually special at defense, and then you switch it to attack, draw a card, and if your opponent attacks it next turn, it'll switch and you get another draw during their turn. So that's really good. And for the last 2 monsters, of course, 2 Maxx, because you guys know I love Maxx. So that's it for the monsters. It's quite a big monster count, as you guys saw. It is 21 monsters. It's basically 19 monsters, but then the 2 hand traps. That's just because, once again, it's a pendulum deck. Your pendulum scales do count as spells as well, so it all kind of like works out in that sense. So on to the spells. We have 3 Dinomist Charge. This card, I want to see this card. I want to open this card. It's insane. One thing to remember is if you synchro summon in this deck, once again, and you have this up, how the chain link works is you'll special Burrito, or the synchro. It's better if you special the Burrito, we'll say it that way. This is chain link 1, because this is mandatory, so it has to resolve first. Or sorry, it'll activate first, and then he'll be chain link 2. So what this will do is this will resolve, especially the Karakuri from the deck, and then this will add you back whatever you synchroed with to your hand. So you basically make a Burrito for free, plus you're getting the synchro, or the guy from the deck that's going to switch and draw you a card. So it ends up being like a +2 combo. It's crazy. It's super good. I don't know why other people haven't thought of playing this deck, but maybe this video will get some recognition and more people will start playing it, because I think it's a really good rogue deck for the format. I'm playing triple MST. Some people might be like, why aren't you playing Twin Twisters? 1, I don't have any Twin Twister. And 2, I was testing out 2 Twin Twisters, but I noticed like a lot of times people were just setting like 1 back row. And the other issue I have with it is I don't want to discard any of my cards. This isn't a deck that really at all revolves around the graveyard. So if anything's in the graveyard, I'm not touching it for the rest of the duel. So I didn't really want to discard stuff and then have my cards stopped or whatever. Or hit scales where they could just end up plussing off of them later anyway. So I just felt like MST is a better card. It's just a 1-for-1 spot removal, on back row, so I can pick stuff off that's giving me a hard time, and which is obviously going to put me in a more viable position when I'm trying to go for game. So I think 3 MST is really good. You could probably play 2 if you wanted as well, but I like 3. I just like seeing it in my opening hand. By the way, always go second with this deck. If you can go second, go second. It's a battle deck. You wanna abuse the battle phase. Wavering Eyes is really good in here, obviously because it's searchability. But the cool thing about this card in this deck is because of Dinomist Charge, you Wavering Eyes. It's basically a free pendulum summon, because if you have Dinomist Charge, you search out the opposite scale of what you need off of this, and then the Dinomist Charge will add back one of the 2 pendulum scales that you popped. If you have 2 Dinomist Charges up, since they're mandatory, it says monsters. So if you Wavering Eyes where you have 2 Dinomist Charges up, it'll actually add back both. One will add back 1 scale, the other one will add back the other scale, and then this will search out another pendulum monster. So you end up not going minus, and Wavering Eyes just basically it's a search card for this deck. That's really what it is, because you don't go minus off of your own Wavering Eyes in this deck. You just always go 1 for 1 off of it. So that's really good. Plus, obviously, it's really good against other pendulum decks, so that's really important. Book of Moon, I don't like Book of Moon right now. I think it's not very good, but this is a battle deck once again, so I think you have to play this card. A lot of people might be like, why don't you play Book of Eclipse? Problem with Book of Eclipse is it books all monsters on the board, so I don't really like that. I mean, you could always like activate Book of Eclipse, and then you can like flip up all your dudes and attack again, but I don't like that. I don't know, I feel like Book of Moon's just a better card. It's just, Book of Moon's just so good. It's at 1 for a reason. You could, if you want, I don't own any, but you could try the Mirror Force that flips all monsters to face down defense position. I would actually like to test that in this deck, because I think it would be really, really good, but I don't own any because it's like a $20 Ultra, so. Plus I think it just came out. The 1 limiter removal, because it is insane in this deck. If you limiter removal, and you can OTK obviously, which is super easy in this deck, but it makes all your guys bigger than everything on your opponent's side of the field, which is obviously relevant in a battle phase deck. And the other thing that makes it super good is that it destroys them at the end phase, so you don't actually lose your card, because everything in this deck, other than the Karakuri Synchros, will float. So I'm not going to limiter removal my Karakuri Synchros unless I know I'm going for game, but like if I have a big pendulum board full of Dinomists, I don't care. Like, you're just like, I'm going to run over your stuff, pendulum it all back next turn, or even that turn if I haven't pendulumed yet. So that's it for the spells. I think it's 10 spells. It's 10 spells. So triple Dinomist Rush. This is basically... this helps with your OTKs, adds consistency. It's a little slow. It's not like Emergency Teleport. I'd say it's more like an Artifact Sanctum, but it's really good because you can special any Dinomist from the deck, and it's unaffected by card effects during that turn it is summoned. So that's really, really important to note, because you can play around back rows, and it obviously will make your monsters basically indestructible during that battle phase, which is really important. It's also good too just to stop you from getting killed. Like if I have this set a lot of times, I'll end up just like activating this special in something that I might need to pendulum next turn from the deck. Or if I have a Dinomist Charge up, I'll pendulum or special out what I need to add back to my hand, and then I'll special the monster. They'll try to kill it, or they will kill it, it'll die, and then it'll go back to my hand, and then you can do more plays next turn. So it's kind of like a search card, which is really good. Triple Fiendish Chain. A lot of people say this card sucks right now. I think it's still really good. It's not good against Magispectors, obviously, but this deck has a really nasty Magispector matchup, because you can just run over all their stuff. And you have your Pendulum cards, the one that stops the 6 scales, that will stop their ones that like banish your monsters and stuff. So yeah, you pretty much win against that matchup. And I don't obviously have Solemn Strikes. I would play Strikes over this if I obviously owned a play set, but Fiendish Chain's better than Breakthrough Skill in here anyway. So Bottomless, Vanity's Emptiness, and Solemn Warning. So 9 traps. So I'm just going to quickly go through the extra deck, guys. Thank you for being patient. Hopefully you've been following all the details I've been getting on this deck. This is 40 cards, so here's for the extra deck. So just double Burrito. I was originally playing 3, because there is actually a way you can do 3 Burritos in one turn. But I've noticed that you really only do the 2. Like, very rarely does that third one come up. And if I do summon a third level 8, I usually want to make a Stardust Dragon, because then you can protect these guys, and then like every turn you're just like switching, draw 2, switching, draw 2, switching, draw 2. And that comes up so often that it's just relevant. It just digs into your cards, your combo pieces, and it's just advantageous. And then your opponent, like, the thing that makes this deck so good is that your opponent's worrying more about these than your pendulum zones and stuff. So what ends up happening is like they waste resources to get over this, which you made for free anyways, and then you just pendulum back all the cards that you use to make these. And then at that point they've wasted resources and you just win, because you pendulum summon a bunch of monsters back for free. So this deck is better than Giga Karakuri. I don't care what anybody says. Giga Karakuri is not good anymore. I tried to make that deck work as much as possible. It's just not good. I'm sure you could probably play like some stupid anti-spell fragrance build, but that's not Giga Karakuri that's good. That's anti-meta cards in your deck that you're running that are good. So I think this is a better deck for machines than Giga Karakuri. It's faster too. Crimson Blader, obviously good against Mermails, which are going to be coming back. And it's good against a lot of decks. I mean, it's Crimson Blader. It's an 8 if you can make it, play it. Scrap Dragon. I still like this card. I had Eli telling me to play that not Hot Red Archfiend, the Scarlet Red Archfiend or something. But I don't own one, and I actually like Scrap Dragon because you can it's just spot removal, and I don't know, I like that better than I think the Scarlet Red. The thing I have the problem with the Scarlet Red is like I'm usually going to make the 3rd Synchro after I've made the 2 Barretos. So what ends up happening is like the Scarlet Red thing blows up all special summon monsters. That'll kill my Barretos as well, and I just don't want to do that. The 1 Stardust Dragon, that's my last 8. For the 2 7s, I'm just playing 1 Bure. I was playing 2, but I noticed like you rarely ever make this, and if you do, it's just once per game. And the 1 Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, because this card is broken, especially if you play it properly at the right time. So for XYZs, we have the 1 Gaia Dragon, the Thunder Charger, and that's just because I have Volcasaurus in the deck. So there are some easy OTKs you can do still with this. Everybody remembers this in windups. Super good. So that's really relevant. And the other rank 5 I still love is Tyrus. It's just a great card still. Like, you basically just run something over. It's a battle phase deck, and then you pop a card in the field. So that's really, really good. It's a crappier version of Rex. So if you already have Rexes on the board, just stick with your Rexes. Don't make this. But if you have like 2 of the crappy level 5s and you want to overlay for something better, then yeah, Tyrus is going to be a better option. So it's just there because you have the room. Then for rank 4s, we have the 1 Gear Gigan. I've never made it because this deck has so much searchability, but I figured, hey, why not? If you can play it, play it. And then I'm playing the 1 Honor Arc, which I finally picked up from locals, so that's really good. 1 Castel, the 1 Dweller, which is awesome in this deck because they're all waters, so Dweller goes up to 2200, which is obviously awesome. And I'm playing the 1 Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon because this deck is all machine and you can kill Cyber Dragon Infinity. So that's really, really good. Anyways, guys, that is the deck profile. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd love to hear what you guys think of the deck. Let me know if you want to build it. If you guys want to talk Therio about it, please comment down below. I'm always replying to you guys' comments, or I try to as much as possible. And I'm always trying to innovate decks further. So let's get this up to, I think I could do 30 likes, probably pretty easy. And I actually want to do an updated DDD profile for you guys. I changed my build up again. And I think it's running a lot better. I realized my old build was kind of, unfortunately, playing a little too catered to what Brendan was playing, and I wanted to make the deck a little more tuned to the general competition. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe once again, and have a great day. Peace.